Hey YouTube, it's Jeff at Darkmoon Metals, and here we are on a Sunday morning in the shop. We're getting near the first day of spring, which I think is truly exciting. I really like working, having the doors open, having the wind kind of blowing through the area. Winter time, it's not so bad working in the winter. It does get kind of cold, but I still love the spring and the whole prospect of the summer coming up and being able to go out and vend and sell some of the things that we make here. Today is going to be a prep day. I need to get a lot of stuff ready for all of the upcoming things this week. One of the things I need to do is to cut out a bunch of these walnut blanks. I have a huge chunk. I need to run it through the bandsaw and get it down into something more manageable. I'm also going to be making some walnut knife scales, or material for walnut knife scales. If you saw the last video I was in, you saw the Viking CX. It's a walnut handle, brass pins, 5160. Now I didn't put that on video because I really wanted to kind of get my groove back. I haven't made knives in probably 20 years, at least not traditional knives. I've made a bunch of push daggers and things like that, but they weren't functional knives. They were more decorative, wall hanger, that type of thing. Didn't have to worry so much about heat treating and tempering and all that good stuff. But this upcoming week I'm going to be making a couple of them for video. This one's going to have a rat tail design. These, when you usually make a CX, I make two at a time because this angle is just the next piece of material, so I don't waste a whole lot by making two blades at once. This actually came out of there. That's how it was cut. And I have another piece of 5160 where I'm going to get another two of these. This one, I decided that I'm going to burn on the handle. I need a little more work on that, but you can see it's started. I'm going to have some brass embellishments on this as well. This one's going to be up for sale when it's done. But the two that I'm going to make specifically for video, I'm going to do one where it's all machine work, pretty much just using an angle grinder. I'm going to heat treat it with an oxyacetylene torch, and I'm going to basically act as if I don't have a forge. The second one, I am going to do the forge work to it. I'm going to use the forge to do the beveling, the heat treating, and all that good stuff. And then at the end of those two videos, we'll compare them side by side and see which one holds up better as far as the blade, see which one kind of came out better. And just compare the two, because not everybody has the tools that I have. So I want to try two different methods to make the same knife. Finally managed to get my hands on these guys. This is a sword blade, and I don't make these. These are specifically made for fencing in the SCA, combat rapier fencing. And they have to meet a whole bunch of different criteria because people really do swing these at each other. So I don't make the blades. What I am going to be making are the handles, the pommels, the really decorative swept guards, and I'm going to be showing some of the fabrication on those. I finally got to the point where I could spend some money on this kind of stuff. Where I was not too long ago, I had to watch every penny, because if I bought a piece of material and I had it in stock, you know, I would always kind of second guess myself. Well, should I use it to make something I want to make and try to sell it? Or should I hang on to it in case somebody wants something and then I can just custom make it and I know I have a sale? I don't have to do that so much anymore, and it's kind of nice being able to kind of go out and explore. The way this is going to be put together, I haven't made the guard for this yet, but I was just playing around with some of the handle designs. That's going to be the handle. The pommel's going to come in right behind it, and it's going to be used in combat rapier fencing. And I've got 3 of these blades to play with right now, so hopefully within the next couple of days I could start doing some stuff with those too. Making a lot more handles on the lathe. I did make a couple of very small push dagger type of things. And believe it or not, I made this to be a boot knife. And what some ladies are using this for, if you go to Renaissance fairs or things like that, they have these things called bodice daggers, where pretty much they live right here. And I always thought something like this would be too long, but apparently what they've been doing is having people make sheaths for them. They leave about that much sticking out the top, and they use these as bodice daggers. You know, people might not be jealous of the knives that I make, but they're jealous of where my knives get to live sometimes. So I've had people ask me to scale them up a little bit So I'm starting to make some prototype handles. This is just some teak I had laying around. So imagine that handle on that blade with some brass embellishments, and there you go. So for today, I need to cut the 2 other Viking C-axes out of the bar of 5160 that I have left. I have to mill all of the wood, get everything ready and set up for the handle scales and for the rectangular blocks for the swords. I'm going to be pouring a bunch of pewter for pendants, Dana, along with the rune stones. We're going to be doing the zodiac. So if you're a Leo or Aquarius or Aries or anything along those lines, we're going to have Viking pendants for anyone who wants, pewter pendants for anybody who wants something like that. And the last thing I'm probably going to do today, how should I end the day? Well, why don't you come along with me, you'll find out. The 3 blanks cut. I'm going to soak it in vinegar and try to get rid of some of this mill scale. Now, I've never tried the vinegar. I've seen a bunch of people online do it. They seem to have some pretty decent results. So I'm going to give it a shot. Need a little bit more. These sheet pan racks are great for projects. I picked them up pretty cheap at a scrapyard, but I'm realizing now I should have gotten a couple of those half sheet pans for stuff like this. Alright guys, if you followed my channel for any length of time, you may remember this little grizzly lathe. This lathe came with the milling machine, and the person that I had gotten this from is not the original owner. I don't know the history of this too much, but I'll tell you that whoever owned this at one point in time beat the crap out of it. The compound rest, the carriage, all of that was just really, really messed up, and the lathe really wasn't serviceable without new parts. And since I have the Atlas lathe, which is a little bit bigger than this, and it'll do all the same things with the exception of the quick change gearbox, I do still have to mess with change gears. This lathe really wasn't worth it to throw money into, so I decided, and I mentioned this in a previous video, I was going to try to make some other things that are useful to me out of this lathe. So I managed to put the steady rest together, and I needed to salvage parts because the steady rest parts were all bent. They didn't line up true with the chuck anymore, so I had to fix that. And what I did is I made basically something that I can bore out my handles with. Now a lot of people will do this on a drill press, but I've done it. It's not necessarily all that straight. It's not easy to do. And I wanted a fast, reliable method. So what I did, I even had to make myself a new wrench and it doesn't quite fit. Eventually I'll make myself a T-handle wrench for this. But I machined 2 nubs. I should say I turned 2 nubs on this handle. And what they do, one will line up in the chuck. I'll spin it just a little. See if you can raise my arm here. All right. So now I've got my handle locked into the steady rest in the chuck, and I know that this is level. Now the tailstock I did make a couple of modifications to. I took the quill out, so I can find the right size Allen here, and I made a piece that's basically nothing but a big bushing. And this serves as a drill guide. I have a flat where it meets up with my Allen head. I'll bring that right up to the back. I'll go ahead and tighten that down. And I don't spin the lathe anymore. What I'm going to do is use that bushing in the tailstock to guide this drill bit. Now for longer handles, I do have to take this and flip it around, and I did that off camera. But let me show you the results here. And as you can see, it pretty much goes right through the center. And it lines up pretty good where the center was on the lathe. Alright guys, so if you've seen the previous pewter casting video, you know that I was using a steel block with a mold that only had one cavity in it. In this video, if you're paying attention, you notice that things have changed. This has 5 cavities, it's on an aluminum block, and what happens is it allows me to pour, and it cools a heck of a lot faster than it did on the steel. Aluminum makes a great heat sink. So, I'm heating the pewter up in a skillet over a burner, and that eliminates the use of the oxypropylene torch. I am still preheating the mold a little bit on each pour with the propane torch, but things go much faster. Where I was able to make between 6 and 7 pendants an hour with the old method, I am making between 40 and 50 pendants an hour with this. I was able to cast about 80 pendants within about an hour and 25, hour and 30 minutes. This should keep Dana happy for a while with a nice fresh supply of pendants. This is the little burner that I've been using to melt my pewter with lately. Now, I really like it. It's a heck of a lot easier than the old way of doing things, and I was able to pick this guy up for about 25 bucks plus shipping online. This is the second one that I've received. The first one that I received, the legs were so lopsided it wouldn't sit level on a table. And I took a couple pictures and I sent it to the manufacturer and I said, look, I understand these come from another country, but there's like no quality control inspections whatsoever. There's no way this thing is safe. And they agreed, and they sent me the second burner. What's interesting is that the old frame may have been messed up, but the old burner itself really was in good condition. In fact, here it is. I asked them if they wanted me to ship it back, and honestly, for them it wouldn't be worth it. So what I'm going to do today for my last project, I'm going to make something that I've wanted for a while. I'm going to be making a propane burner that will heat soldering irons. And when I say soldering irons, I'm talking about these old school guys right here. Now, these were my grandfather's. I have about a dozen of them laying around the house. and I've never been able to use them unless I stuck them in the wood burning stove or preheated them with a torch. So today, for the last project of the day, I'm going to make myself something that I've really always wanted out of this burner. The first thing that I'm going to do in this burner build is to cut the bottom plate out of a piece of 3/8 inch mild steel on the plasma cam with a great pattern that I designed. Alright guys, so I drilled a hole with a countersink, and I just hit this on a bench grinder real quick, just a couple of bolts. They are going to sit relatively flush. I'm going to come in and plug weld on either side. Since all of the tension on the nut is going to be pulling it down, I don't really care too much about the strength of the weld, I just want to hold it in place. Not that these welds aren't going to be strong. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to weld the 4 legs on. Now that I've got the legs on, what I want to do is attach a piece that's going to determine how far in to the fire the soldering irons go. And all I've done, I've taken a piece of channel iron and I put 2 grooves, basically just drilled a hole, and then came down with the cutting wheel to make my, my notches. And I'm going to weld that right to the front and center. Not bad. Now the last thing I need to put on, I'm not sure exactly what this piece is called, the hood, the tunnel, who knows. I've got a nice piece of channel iron, pretty thick walls. And what's going to happen is that's going to sit right about there, going to center it up, weld a bead down each side, and I'm going to call this done. Alright YouTube, even though it's only 2 o'clock, it is a Sunday afternoon, so I'm going to pull the plug on activities in the shop. I did accomplish everything that I wanted to get done today. Of course, I still have a list of projects a mile long that I want to get to, but I'm going to relax with Vered for the rest of the weekend, and we're going to have a few friends over, watch a couple of movies, and enjoy ourselves a bit. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to spend your Sunday afternoon with us, or whenever you happen to be catching this video. We do value your time, and I understand that there are a lot of channels out here you could be watching on YouTube, and I'm very happy that you decided to come and hang out and take a look at mine. For all of our subscribers who've been here in the past, you know the drill. These videos come out whenever I can make them. This week I've got a few different things coming up, a couple of ideas, some of which have been hinted to in this video. But for now, I'm going to wrap it up and let you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Coming to you from Darkmoon Metals, this is Jeff, and I will see you again soon.